Please note, I am not affiliated with or sponsored by any companies or individuals associated with the apps and websites mentioned in this clip. They have not asked me to do this, and all opinions expressed are my own. Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about something that I've been meaning to talk about for a while, and one or two comments from new followers lately have also triggered me to do this, and that's basically how I get around and plan my journeys around London, because I keep posting about the things I'm getting up to, but I haven't really spoken or written about how I actually plan those journeys and how I get around, how I find it. So I thought I'd do a video and a couple of blog posts on it as well, which I'll link to below. I'll start with how I actually plan my journeys first before I get into the actual experience of getting around. In terms of planning my journeys, I basically use technology. I use my smartphone, my iPhone, and I use websites as well. The key app I use is Citymapper on the iPhone. It's kind of the go-to app for everything you need to know about the public transport and planning routes in London, things like that, and other cities as well. It's not just for London. I think it applies to Birmingham and Manchester and New York and all sorts of other cities around the world. But for London, it is very useful. Basically, you just type in where you're going to go. It knows where you currently are, so it can direct you from there, or you can put in a different kind of leaving point if you want to plan something ahead. And it'll just tell you the best way to get from A to B, whether it's using the tube or the buses or cycling, whatever way you like to travel. For me, it will suggest a mixture of tube and buses, and obviously it tells you the walking bits between as well, walking to and from the station at each end. And it gives you multiple suggestions as well, so you've got a choice of routes. You can see which are the quickest ones, but if you prefer to use a slightly different route, you can take one that's slightly slower depending on your preferences. It also takes into account disruption. If it knows that a line's closed or something like that, it's hooked into the Transport for London status feed, so it knows if lines are delayed. It tells you that. It knows if lines are closed for engineering works or stations are closed, so it will take that into account and divert you around them to plan different routes. Citymapper will also tell you how long it will take to get to your destination, including each stage of the journey broken down as well. How long the walks will take, how long the tube journey will take, how long the bus ride will take, etc. So that's really useful. You can see when you need to leave. You can tell it you're going to leave at a certain time, or you can tell it you want to arrive by a certain time, and it will tell you how to get there, which is great. It'll even tell you which carriage of the tube train to get on, so that you then get off nearest the exit at your final station. It will give you walking directions as well. It's got a map on there, and it shows you which way you're facing with a nice clear green triangle, so that's good. There's also tube maps on there. You've got the standard tube map, you've got tube and rail maps. It's got the rail network in the city there as well, and there's a night tube map. You've got all that information, all the status feeds for the different lines and everything. And if you're really lucky when you're planning a journey, it'll even give you a jetpack or a catapult option just for a laugh. So there's a little bit of humour there from the developers as well. It's a very nice app, Citymapper. It's very, very comprehensive, very, very good. I highly recommend it if you're in any big city around the world. Chances are they cover it. And then once I've figured out the route that I'm going to take, I obviously want to check out the walking section of the route. Like when I get off the station at the other end, how do I then walk from the station to my destination, be it a pub or a theatre or whatever? What I use for that is I use Street View. I use Google Street View. Now, Citymapper's got that built in the form of a telescope function, but the problem with that is it's in a very small kind of circular window, and it doesn't always place you where you want to be because there are limits on Street View. It doesn't quite cover every single street, and it's just not that easy to see. So I prefer to use Street View on a full screen, either on my phone or preferably on my computer, so I've got it on a nice big screen. Then I can just walk the route from the station to wherever I'm going, or between other points. It might not be a station, it might be from a pub to a museum or something. I can kind of walk the route following the directions from Citymapper or even Google Maps if I want to plan a route that way. I will walk the route using Street View and kind of just get a feel for the landmarks and things like that, because it's easy to say walk down this street and then that street, but I can't see street names. I can't even always find where they are in central London and other parts of London, because often in central London they're kind of up in the air on the buildings, sort of high up rather than kind of down at ground level. So yes, finding street names is kind of a nightmare. So it's easier to look out for landmarks. If I walk the route, I can say, right, there's a roundabout there, I've got to turn right, or there's a big junction with traffic lights, I've got to cross there and then turn left and cross again, or maybe there's a great big fancy building on a corner and I know I've got to turn down that street, or just simply count the side roads or something like that. There's all little landmarks and things that I look out for. Obviously, some things can change slightly. A shop name might change if it's bought out by someone else or something like that. But generally speaking, the streets do look the same. The only thing that really can catch you out is if there's like roadworks or diversions, so bits are blocked off and you've got to do a slightly different route. that can confuse things slightly. Then you have to use like Citymapper or Google Maps to kind of just replan a new route around it. But even that said, having used Street View, I know what I'm looking for when I get there, so I'll know what the building looks like that I'm aiming for. So, it's not the end of the world. The more preparation I've done in advance, then the less I have to do on the day if there are any issues. And indeed, Street View can take you inside some buildings as well. I find that very useful. I've gone into a couple of pubs with it. It goes into a few museums, I think, and various other places. So that's quite handy just to get a feel for the layout of the place before I get there. And sometimes I've also checked out inside venues like pubs and things just by going on Google Images and just searching photos of it, just to get a feel for what it's like inside. If I've been planning to go to a venue that I'm unfamiliar with completely, then looking online has helped me decide if I want to go there or not. There are a few places I've deliberately avoided because it's become apparent that they're going to be very dark or very confusing. So yeah, just generally getting as much visual information as possible about the route and the venue. So there's some familiarity when I get there. So I can say, oh yeah, I recognise that building, or I recognise that door, or that, even that tree, or that junction, whatever it may be. Just adds a little bit of familiarity, so it's easier for me to orientate myself when I get there. In terms of stations, there's also apps and sites to help with figuring the layout of stations as well. On my iPhone, I've got the Station Master app, which was developed by Jeff Marshall from the All the Stations project and one of his colleagues. And they've basically got all the lines listed on there, and you can click on any station, on any of the like tube lines and the DLR and things, and you can just click on a station name and you can find out all the facilities the station has got. You can see where it is on a map. You can get all sorts of facts about the station and the buses that run there. And you can also see a 3D map of the station as well, which I can zoom in on. They're very nicely laid out, and it just gives you a good sense of the layout of the station. I don't use it a lot because I'm quite happy navigating the stations when I get there, but it's still quite nice to have a look at that. And then for National Rail stations, the National Rail website actually has a whole set of maps for all the stations as well. So if you go to their stations tab on the website, you can type in the name of a station, and it will give you like a list of all the facilities and services that are there. But you can also bring up a map and click to bring up a large version of the map, and that will allow you to hover over the map on all the different parts of the plan. As you hover over each bit of it, you get little pop-up boxes with a description of that little area, be it a bench or a ticket machine or the toilets or whatever, and a photo as well, which you can then click on to enlarge. So you can click on the photos and stuff and just get a feel again for the layout of the station, just so you know what you're looking for when you get there. It just kind of helps. And yes, I know you can ask staff in all these places for help, but obviously if you can figure out things for yourself in advance, I kind of like that extra bit of independence. It just gives me that extra little bit of confidence. So I just check out as much information as I can beforehand, and it really helps. It helps with familiarity and confidence, and just makes things a little bit easier. As for getting around London itself, a lot of people seem to be surprised that I can do that. Certainly people that I know from the West Country, work colleagues and things, have said, I've been to London and the crowds are huge. It's so overwhelming. I don't like it up there. It's too packed in and everything. And what I would say first is it's perfectly understandable that people find London overwhelming. It is a huge and complicated city. There are millions of people here. It does get very crowded in the centre of the city. That said, there are a lot of quiet areas as well. There are a lot of good times to travel when it's relatively quiet as well, if you can avoid the rush hour. So it's not quite as packed as you necessarily think it is. But that said, it is very busy, certainly in the central London. But the thing for me is I've known London a long time. I've only been living here a year, but it's always felt like a second home because like the house we're in now is my nan's house. This is the house we inherited and we're now living in. And I always used to visit here a lot as a kid with the family, 2-3 times a year, really, like Easter, summer, Christmas. And we used to go out with the family and go out to theatres and museums and for walks and things. So I was very used to using the tube and the buses and just walking around the city. And I grew up getting used to the crowds. And now we've moved into this house, we already know the area we're in. So we haven't got to learn where everything is. We've had to familiarise ourselves with a few things that we didn't need to know about before. But we already know where a lot of the key things are that we need, like there's shops, supermarkets and things. So, we're already comfortable with the area, we know the tube, and now I've got apps as well that I can plan routes with really easily rather than figuring them out on a map myself. That really helps. So it's not been too bad for me, really. As far as the crowds go, I'm perfectly happy with them, to be honest. I mean, they're not always comfortable, but I tolerate them. It's not usually too bad on the tube, to be honest, because I don't commute to work. I work from home, then I get to avoid the rush hour, so I avoid the crowds then. then, which is great. And if it's ever been busy when I do go out, I'm quite happy just kind of standing on the train amongst people if need be. It's not comfortable, but it's tolerable because the journeys never really take that long. And if a train is too crowded to get on, then I'll just wait for the next one. I'll let that one go. And in terms of kind of walking in the streets with the crowds, I kind of treat it a bit like a train, really. You kind of have to hook into a gap and just kind of walk with them and then kind of find the right moment to slip out, whether it be to check directions or to go to a shop you want to go to or whatever. There's a knack to it. You kind of get used to it. And you have to kind of be a little bit ruthless because everybody in London is doing their own thing and going their own way. So you have to be a bit like that as well. So if you're crossing a road and there's a big crowd of people coming towards you, you have to just aim for the gaps between them and walk through them just as they're wanting to walk around you. Nobody wants to walk through anybody else. So everyone's dodging around each other and it just kind of works. When you're a Londoner or you're a tourist who's used to London or whatever, it just kind of comes by instinct. You just push through and figure things out, which is easier said than done, I know, if you're not comfortable with crowds. But once you kind of got used to doing that, it's not really a problem. In terms of walking around at night, yes, it can be a bit disorientating sometimes, depending on where you are. But I'm always very careful. I always stick to well-lit areas. I'll never go down a dark street that feels unsafe. If I have to walk slightly further, a more roundabout route to feel safe, I will do that. I'll make sure I'm in a place where there is traffic and a fair number of people around where at all possible. Worst case scenario, I will pay for a taxi if I have to. I know where to get taxis from. I've already figured that out. So yeah, I just kind of stick to the wallet areas, and I always walk with purpose as well. I never kind of stumble around looking lost all the time. I pick a direction that I'm fairly sure is the right way and I will go that way. Even if I'm not quite certain that it's the right way, I'll just still walk with purpose. And then as soon as it becomes apparent that I'm going the wrong way, then I'll just walk with purpose back the other way to a place I recognise. Just pause for a moment, reassess it, and then pick a different route. It works out fine. I've never had any problems so far. In terms of obstacles, I don't use a cane or a guide dog, so I do kind of take my time a little bit. Perhaps I walk a little bit slower at night than during the day and just really focus on where I'm going, perhaps more intently than I do during the day as well, maybe. But one thing I do use is other people as well. Because it's a big city, there's always other people walking around, because I'm deliberately staying to kind of streets where there are other people around. So 9 times out of 10 there will be someone walking in front of me, so I will tail them and I'll watch them and I'll watch where they go. If they're working their way around an obstacle, I will follow them around it. If they were to trip over something, I know there's something to trip over there. It's just a case of using them as kind of like my guide, as it were, even though they don't realise they're doing it. So it's just something I do on autopilot, even during the daytime, to be honest. You just lock on someone and follow them. I do that with crowds as well when I'm getting off tube trains. I know where the way out is because everyone else is walking that way. Simple as that. So yeah, as well as just dodging my way around people, I'll also use other people and just follow them. It does come in handy. In terms of using the tube, I'm very comfortable with that as well. Accessibility is great these days. You have the audio announcements, you have some clear dot matrix displays on some of the trains, and certainly on the sides of the trains as well. It's very clear where the train is going now. In the old days, you used to have to look at the front of the train or at a sign on the wall, but now in a lot of cases you've got the signs on the side of the train as well, which is really helpful. And like I say, the audio announcements are great. Sometimes if you're on a really noisy train you can't hear them, but most of the time you can. That's really useful. The stations often have audio announcements as well. This train is going to such and such. But I've got my binocular as well, my telescope, for looking at signs with. In terms of walking around the stations, the signage in tube stations is quite clear. I know what I'm looking for. There's a pretty common design standard for how the signs are produced. Indeed, there's a whole swathe of information on the Transport for London website about how their design standards and philosophies work. So I can usually see where the signs are. Occasionally I might get a bit lost. I might perhaps go down an escalator for the wrong line or something, but then there's always going to be signs for people changing to another line, so I can just find my way back round somehow. Occasionally I've got on a train going the wrong way, which is kind of inevitable if it's busy and I can't quite see the signs or whatever, or I just get confused maybe. It's happened once or twice, but then all I do is I get off at the next station and just switch platforms and come back the other way. It's a minor frustration really. And obviously there are always staff around if you do really get stuck. But no, so far so good. I've always been able to figure it out by myself. I kind of like figuring out things by myself as much as I can. For as long as I'm able to do that, I'd like to do that. If it gets to a point where I do need the help of a cane or a guide dog or someone to guide me, then I will do that. And obviously if I'm going out with a friend or something, then we can kind of work things out together. But if I'm on my own, then yeah, I'm quite happy to kind of get around independently. It's not caused me any problems so far. I will use the buses occasionally as well. Sometimes I don't use them very often, but it does have its uses. There is a bus stop just a few side roads away from me, which I can get to a different tube station on a different line, and that's quite handy if the line I usually get is closed or is severely delayed. I can just get this bus to the other station, get the other line, get the Jubilee line to go round it and change somewhere else to get to my destination. So there's always more than one way to get somewhere in London. That's the great thing. If one route is shut down, you can always take another route. It might take slightly longer, but then again, not necessarily all that longer. It can be surprising. Once you get to know London, you get used to the fact that you can plan different routes. It's fine. And of course, the travel itself is free. I have a Freedom Pass because of my disability, because of my visual impairment, so that greatly helps as well. In London, any money you can save is great. The Freedom Pass also doubles up as the concessionary bus pass for free bus travel on local buses all over the UK, so that's really helpful. If I go to other cities, I can get cheap bus travel after 9:30 in the morning, I think. And then for national rail services, I've got my disabled person's rail card, which gets me a third off. I did also have a coach card for the National Express coaches to get me a third off them. I didn't bother renewing it when it expired because I was rarely using it and I haven't really got a use for it at the moment. If it gets to a point where I do use a coach for whatever reason, then I'll sign back up to it. But at the moment, I don't particularly need it because I don't use coaches. And especially now I'm in London, I've got train routes everywhere. So there's not so much need for them. But you never know, could come up one day. And using the National Rail Network isn't a problem. I've been to places fairly local such as Bromley and then gone as far afield as Devon and Birmingham and got the Gatwick Express to Gatwick to fly out from there. The national rail stations are sometimes a bit confusing to navigate, but the departure boards are always pretty easy to find because they're huge and up in the air and I can read them. The tricky bit is always just finding the platform, but then I just use my binocular to look for the platform numbers. And once you've found a couple, you can usually work out where the others are. If I've used the National Rail website, as I explained earlier, then I've already got a general sense of the layout of the station anyway. And yes, I can ask members of the staff if need be. But again, I can often follow people as well. As soon as a train gets announced, to what platform it's going to be on, a lot of people will start walking in the same direction as well, so you can sort of follow those too and just double check the platform when you get there to make sure you follow the right crowd of people. But 9 times out of 10 it works fine. You find the right platform and just get straight on the train. Finding seat numbers on the train can be difficult and you have to kind of look closely at wherever the seat number is. They're never usually that large, but the tube is my favourite method of travel for getting around London. Certainly I am a big fan of the tube. I know not everyone is, but I'm very happy with it. Like I say, I'm very used to it, very comfortable with it. Yes, it has its delays occasionally, it has its signal failures, and if you're in the rush hour commute in particular, then it's really annoying, I know that. But for me, I've not had any major problems with it this year. A couple of kind of engineering work things that I've had to kind of work my way around, but I've never been stranded anywhere, I've never been stuck anywhere. I've always figured out a way back if there's ever been a slight issue. So yeah, I like the tube. I am kind of fond of it. I do like watching videos about it. I've got a documentary about it on DVD. I like watching people like Jeff Marshall online, the videos he posts about it. And I've even done a kind of a game on the tube this year as well. I did with Thinking Bob a treasure hunt kind of game. We had to figure out clues and take photos at stations and find other things as well. I've written about that in my blog. That was really, really fun, kind of racing around the tube with a group of friends. And they looked out for me. This was a non-disabled group, but they made sure I stuck with them and I was able to lock onto them in the crowd. And at each junction, everyone pauses and looks out for each other to make sure that we're all together. So it worked out very well. I never lost them. So that was really, really good fun. So yeah, I do like the tube. I think it's an amazing feat of engineering. I think it's great that it's becoming more accessible. I know it's not perfect, but it's definitely a lot more accessible than it was when I was a kid. And let's hope Transport for London can continue working on making it more accessible. Same goes for the buses and things. So that's how I find it, and it is very much a personal thing, it must be said. Depending on your own confidence levels, your own disability, how severe it may be, you may have anxiety issues, you may have confidence issues, you may have mobility issues, whatever it may be. For some people, it's not so easy. It might be easier to get buses or taxis or have a friend drive them or just not live in London at all and live somewhere else, or whatever it may be. Everybody is different. Everybody finds cities like London different in terms of their tolerance and their confidence and things like that. So I'm not saying this is how everyone has to do things. I'm not saying you have to use the tube, you have to live in London. I love it here. Obviously, I would happily recommend that people live here, but your situation, your experiences are your own. So I'm just answering a question on how I do things because it has been asked of me. I basically just plan out routes in advance to get familiar with them, and then when I get there I just take my time, just work with the crowd, follow people if need be, just take my time looking for the signs, step aside out of the crowd if need be, just look at the signs, figure out where I'm going, and then just take it from there, really. It's just worked out nicely, really. I don't seem to have any problems getting around at the moment. I think with the technology that's around to help you plan things and the way they've made the transport network as accessible as they can so far, it's made a huge difference, and it does make things quite smooth going most of the time, for me at least. So that's it, really. I mean, if there's anything else you want me to expand on, then by all means ask. I just wanted to give that general overview. Like I say, I'm going to do a couple of blog posts as well to go with this, because it is quite a big topic, really, when you start writing about it and talking about it. So I hope you found this interesting. I know it was a bit rambly, but no, like I say, there's plenty to talk about. So hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to like this video if you did. Feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to subscribe to this channel to check out the rest of my videos, because I've got more I'm going to be posting. There's plenty of ideas kind of floating around at the moment for clips. So do subscribe. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon for another video. Bye for now.